Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you today, you are not weak, you are not average, you are very powerful. There is greatness inside you. You weren't created to live in fear, to struggle, or to barely get by. No, you were designed to rise higher, to overcome, to walk in victory. The very breath in your lungs is proof that God has a purpose for you. The enemy will try to convince you otherwise. He'll whisper, "You're not strong enough. You'll never accomplish your dreams. You've made too many mistakes." But let me tell you something. Those are lies. The truth is you are powerful beyond measure. You see, the words you speak over your life have power. If you keep saying, "I'll never get ahead, I'm not good enough," then you are limiting yourself. But when you declare, "I am strong, I am favored, I am equipped for every challenge," you are activating the power within you. Maybe you've been through struggles. Maybe life has thrown some tough situations your way. But hear me today, that struggle is not the end of your story. Every challenge, every setback is simply preparation for something greater. God wouldn't allow it if He didn't have a plan to use it for your good. The battle may be tough, but the victory is already won. The power inside you is greater than any obstacle outside of you. You are not here by accident. You are chosen, anointed, and destined for greatness. So I challenge you today, rise up, walk like a champion, speak like a winner, live like the powerful person you were created to be. Because the moment you start believing in your power, the power God placed inside you, nothing will be impossible for you. You are very powerful. You are not ordinary. You are not average. You are not here by accident. You are a masterpiece, created with purpose, designed for greatness. The very breath in your lungs is a sign that God has placed something special inside of you. There is power in you that you may not even realize yet. The same God who created the heavens and the earth, the same power that raised the dead, that parted the seas, that made the impossible possible, that power is in you. Too often, people go through life feeling small, feeling inadequate, feeling like they don't have what it takes. They see obstacles and shrink back. They face challenges and start to doubt themselves. They let negative thoughts tell them they're not enough, that they're not strong enough, talented enough, or worthy enough. But let me remind you today, that is not who you are. Those are lies meant to keep you from stepping into your destiny. The truth is, you have everything you need to succeed. Before you were even born, God placed gifts, talents, and abilities inside you. He didn't create you to live in fear. He didn't create you to be defeated. He created you to be bold, to be strong, to walk with confidence, knowing that you carry greatness within you. You may not see it yet. You may not feel it all the time, but it's there. It's been there since the beginning. And when you start believing in it, when you start walking like you know you are chosen, everything begins to change. There's a story in Scripture about a young man named Gideon. He saw himself as weak, as unqualified, as the least of the least. When the angel of the Lord appeared to him, do you know what he said? He didn't call him weak. He didn't call him unqualified. He said, "Mighty warrior, the Lord is with you." Before Gideon even saw it in himself, God saw the greatness inside of him. And that's what God sees in you. You may not feel like a mighty warrior. You may not feel like you have what it takes. But God calls you strong. He calls you powerful. He calls you victorious. Life will try to convince you otherwise. You will face setbacks, disappointments, and obstacles. There will be times when things don't go as planned, when the odds seem stacked against you. But that doesn't change the power inside you. Just because you don't see the victory yet doesn't mean it's not coming. Just because you don't feel strong doesn't mean you're not powerful. It's easy to look at others and think, well, they're strong, they're talented, they're special, but me, I'm just ordinary. No, there is no such thing as an ordinary person. Every single person God created was designed with something unique, something powerful, something that no one else has. You are not a copy, you are an original. There will never be another you. And that means there is something inside of you that this world needs. When you understand that, when you really believe it, you start walking differently. You stop letting fear hold you back. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop settling for less than you were meant for. You weren't created to live in the shadows, to be overlooked, to just get by. You were created to shine, to be bold, to make a difference. Maybe you've had people tell you otherwise. Maybe they've tried to put limitations on you. Maybe they've said you're not smart enough, not talented enough, not the right fit. But what people say about you doesn't determine your destiny. God has already spoken. He has already placed something powerful inside you. And when He calls you chosen, when He calls you strong, when He calls you more than a conqueror, nothing and no one can take that away from you. Sometimes the biggest battle isn't with other people, it's with yourself. It's the battle in your mind, the thoughts that tell you you're not enough, that make you question whether you have what it takes. But today is the day you stop believing those lies. Today is the day you start seeing yourself the way God sees you. Not weak, not defeated, but powerful, victorious, more than enough. The moment you recognize the power inside you, the moment you decide to believe in what God has placed in you, is the moment everything shifts. Doors that seemed closed will open. Opportunities will come your way. Strength you didn't even know you had will rise up. Not because of anything you did on your own, but because you finally stepped into the identity God already gave you. So walk like you know you're powerful. Speak like you know you're strong. Move like you know you are chosen. Because when you do, nothing will be able to stop you. You have greatness inside of you. You have power beyond what you can imagine. And when you start living with that confidence, there's no limit to what God can do through you. Your words have power. What you say about yourself, your future, and your situation is shaping your life in ways you may not even realize. Many people don't understand this. They speak defeat, and then they wonder why they feel discouraged. They talk about how bad things are, and then they wonder why nothing is changing. But let me remind you today, your words are setting the direction of your life. Scripture says that life and death are in the power of the tongue. That means every time you speak, you are either speaking life into your future or you are speaking defeat. You may not feel strong, but if you keep saying, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, I'll never get ahead, you are reinforcing those thoughts. You are making it harder on yourself. But when you start declaring, I am strong, I am blessed, I am anointed, I am favored, you are activating power. You are inviting the supernatural into your life. Too many people are speaking against their own dreams. They say things like, I'll never get out of debt. I'll never meet the right person. I'll never be successful. But here's the truth. You are prophesying your future. If you keep saying it, don't be surprised when it happens. If you keep talking like a victim, you'll stay a victim. But if you start speaking like a victor, you'll start walking in victory. It's time to be intentional with your words. When you wake up in the morning, don't start the day complaining about how tired you are or how hard life is. Start your day declaring, this is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. I am strong. I am healthy. I am favored. You may not feel it yet, but when you declare it, you are planting seeds for your future. Think about a farmer planting seeds in the ground. He doesn't see immediate results, but he knows that in time, those seeds will produce a harvest. It's the same with your words. Every time you speak faith, every time you declare victory, every time you say, I am blessed, I am successful, I am destined for great things, you are planting seeds. And just like that farmer, you will see a harvest in due time. Maybe right now, things aren't going the way you want. Maybe you're facing difficulties in your health, in your career, in your family. It's easy to talk about the problem. It's easy to say, I don't see a way out. This situation will never change. But that's exactly what the enemy wants. He wants you to speak defeat. He knows that if you keep declaring the problem, you will stay in the problem. But when you change your words, you change your situation. Instead of saying, I'll never get better, start declaring, healing is coming, strength is coming, I will live and not die. Instead of saying, I'll never get that promotion, start saying, favor is coming, the right doors are opening. God is making a way where there seems to be no way. You may not see anything changing right away, but keep speaking it, keep declaring it. Your words are like a thermostat. When you set the temperature, the environment eventually catches up. If you keep speaking words of faith, your life will start moving in that direction. This is why it's so important to guard what comes out of your mouth. Some people wonder why they struggle year after year, but if you listen to what they say, you'll understand why. They constantly speak doubt, fear, and negativity. They don't realize that their words are keeping them stuck. It's time to break that cycle. It's time to start speaking words of life. You are not weak. You are strong. You are not a failure. You are victorious. You are not alone. God is with you. And when you begin to declare that over your life, you will start to see things shift. Doors will open. Opportunities will come. Strength will rise up inside you. So from this moment forward, make the decision to speak powerfully. Speak words that build you up, not tear you down. Speak words that create faith, not fear. Speak words that align with the victory that is already yours. Because the words you speak today are shaping the future you will walk into tomorrow. Life is full of challenges. No one is exempt from difficulties, disappointments, or struggles. But here's what you need to remember. Your challenges don't define you, they refine you. What you're facing right now is not there to break you, it's there to make you stronger. Too often when we go through tough times, we start believing the lie that we're stuck, that things will never change, that maybe we're just not meant to succeed. But let me remind you today that struggle is not your identity. Just because you're facing a challenge doesn't mean you are weak. Just because you've been through some hardships doesn't mean you are defeated. God is using those very challenges to prepare you for something greater. Think about gold. Before it becomes valuable, before it shines and reflects light, it has to go through intense heat. The fire is what refines it. The fire is what removes the impurities, what strengthens it, what brings out its true worth. And it's the same with you. The challenges you face are not meant to destroy you. They are refining you. They are preparing you for the next level, for greater opportunities, for a life you never imagined. You may be going through something right now that you don't understand. You may be asking, why is this happening? Why am I facing this difficulty? But what if I told you that this challenge is actually working in your favor? What if I told you that without this test, you wouldn't be ready for the blessing that's coming? David would have never become king if he hadn't faced Goliath. Joseph would have never stepped into his destiny if he hadn't been betrayed and thrown into prison. The obstacles didn't stop them. The obstacles prepared them. Your challenge is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It's a sign that He's preparing you. Instead of looking at your difficulty as a setback, start seeing it as a setup. Instead of complaining about the struggle, start thanking God that He's strengthening you, that He's developing you, that He's getting you ready for something greater. Every challenge you face is an opportunity for growth. Every obstacle is a chance to develop resilience, to build faith, to prove to yourself and to the world that you are stronger than you thought. But here's the key. You can't give up in the middle of the process. Too many people quit when it gets tough. They stop believing, stop trying, stop moving forward. But if you could see what's on the other side of your challenge, you wouldn't even consider quitting. If you could see how God is using this to promote you, to open doors, to increase you, you would keep pressing forward with confidence. Think about a butterfly. Before it can fly, before it can show the beauty that was inside it all along, it has to struggle in the cocoon. It has to push, to fight, to break through. If you try to help it too soon, if you take away the struggle, it won't develop the strength it needs to fly. That struggle is part of the process. And the same is true for you. You may feel stuck in a tough situation right now, but don't fight the process. Embrace it. Let it make you stronger. Let it prepare you for the next level. Because here's what I know. When you come out of this, you won't be the same. You'll be wiser, you'll be stronger, you'll be more confident. You look back and say, I didn't like it, it was painful, it was uncomfortable, but I wouldn't change it because that's what shaped me into who I am today. So don't let the challenge break you, let it build you. Don't let the struggle make you bitter, let it make you better. You are not being buried, you are being planted. And when the time is right, you will rise stronger and more powerful than ever before. You have everything you need to succeed right now, at this very moment. You are already equipped with the gifts, the talents, the wisdom, and the strength to step into your destiny. Too many people go through life feeling like they're missing something, like they need someone else to validate them, like they need more resources, more connections, or more experience before they can achieve their dreams. But let me remind you today, God has already placed inside you everything you need. When He created you, He didn't make a mistake. He didn't leave anything out. You are not lacking. You are not incomplete. You are fully loaded, fully equipped, fully capable of walking in victory. The problem is, too often we look outside of ourselves for the answers that are already within us. We think, if only I had their talent, if only I had their resources, if only I had their background, then I could do something great. But you don't need what they have. You need to use what you have. Think about Moses. When God called him to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, Moses didn't feel qualified. He gave excuse after excuse. God, I can't do it. I'm not a good speaker. I don't have what it takes. And what did God say? He didn't tell Moses to go get more training, to find someone else to help him, to wait until he was more prepared. He simply asked, what's in your hand? Moses was holding a simple staff, just an ordinary stick. But when he surrendered it to God, that staff became a tool for miracles. It was used to part the Red Sea. It was used to bring water from a rock. It was used to lead an entire nation to freedom. What's in your hand today? Maybe it's a skill, a talent, an idea, or even a dream that you've been neglecting. You keep waiting for the perfect moment, for the right circumstances, for someone to come along and give you permission. But you don't need more. You already have what it takes. David didn't wait until he had a full set of armor to face Goliath. He didn't need a sword, a shield, or an army behind him. He used what was already in his hand, a simple slingshot and 5 smooth stones. And that was all he needed to defeat the giant. The enemy would love to keep you feeling inadequate. He wants you to believe you're not ready, that you don't have what it takes, that you need to be more like someone else. But the truth is, you are already prepared. The strength, the wisdom, the anointing, it's already inside you. Stop looking outside for what God has already placed within. When you stop doubting yourself, when you start recognizing that you are already equipped, that's when things begin to change. That's when doors open. That's when new opportunities arise. Not because you suddenly became more qualified, but because you finally realized you already were. So instead of waiting, instead of making excuses, instead of feeling like you're missing something, make the decision today to use what you have. Step out in faith. Trust that what's in your hand is enough, because when you put it in God's hands, it becomes more than enough. You are not alone. No matter what you are facing, no matter how big the challenge, no matter how impossible the situation may seem, you are never by yourself. There is a power working behind the scenes, a presence guiding your steps, a strength lifting you when you feel weak. God is with you. Too often, when we go through difficulties, we feel isolated. We think, no one understands what I'm going through. No one sees my struggle. No one knows how hard this is. But let me remind you today, you are never alone. From the moment you took your first breath, from the moment you faced your first challenge, God has been right there, walking beside you, fighting for you, making a way even when you couldn't see it. There's a story in Scripture about 3 young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who refused to bow down to the king's idol. Because of their faith, they were thrown into a fiery furnace. The fire was so hot that even the soldiers who threw them in were consumed. But when the king looked into the furnace, he didn't see 3 men burning. He saw 4. There was another in the fire with them, protecting them, covering them, making sure that what was meant to destroy them would not harm them. That's how God works. He doesn't always take you out of the fire immediately, but He steps into it with you. He stands beside you. He surrounds you so that what was meant to break you will only make you stronger. Maybe right now you feel like you're in the fire. Maybe you're facing challenges in your health, in your finances, in your relationships. Maybe you feel like the heat is too intense, like the pressure is too much to handle. But let me encourage you, you are not alone. God is in the fire with you. The same God who delivered those 3 men is the same God who will deliver you. The same power that kept them safe is the same power working in your life. It's easy to believe this when things are going well, when life is smooth, when everything is falling into place. But the real test of faith is in the tough times. The real challenge is trusting that even when you don't see a way, even when you don't feel His presence, even when nothing seems to be changing, God is still there. Maybe you've been praying for something, believing for a breakthrough, waiting for things to turn around, and it feels like nothing is happening. But just because you don't see movement doesn't mean He's not working. God is always working behind the scenes. He is lining up the right people, the right opportunities, the right moments to bring you into everything He has promised. Elijah's servant went out to look for rain after years of drought. The first time he came back and said, "I don't see anything." Elijah sent him back again and again. 6 times he saw nothing. But on the 7th time, he saw a small cloud in the distance, the size of a man's hand. It wasn't much, but it was a sign that God was moving. Just because you don't see it yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. Just because the situation hasn't changed yet doesn't mean God isn't working behind the scenes. Your breakthrough is coming. Your healing is coming. Your victory is coming. So don't let the enemy convince you that you're alone. Don't let fear tell you that you have to figure it all out on your own. You have a God who goes before you, who stands beside you, who fights for you. And when you walk with that confidence, when you remind yourself daily that you are never alone, you will face every challenge differently. You won't be afraid of the fire because you know who's in it with you. You won't be discouraged by the delay because you know the promise is still on the way. You won't live in fear because you know that the one who is with you is greater than anything that comes against you. Your destiny is greater than your struggles. What you're facing right now is not the end of your story. The challenges, the setbacks, the disappointments, they may feel overwhelming, but they are not permanent. You have a destiny that is greater than your struggles. The obstacles you see today are only temporary, but the purpose inside you is eternal. Too often, people let their struggles define them. They go through a failure and believe they are a failure. They face rejection and believe they are unworthy. They encounter difficulties and assume that life will always be a struggle. But let me remind you today, what you're going through is not who you are. It's simply part of the process to get you where you're meant to be. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He had a dream that he would be a great leader, that he would have influence, that he would make a difference. But before he ever reached that destiny, he was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. Everything in his life seemed to be going in the wrong direction. But what Joseph didn't realize was that every struggle was leading him closer to his destiny. If he hadn't been betrayed, he wouldn't have been sold into Egypt, If he hadn't been in Egypt, he wouldn't have ended up in Pharaoh's palace. And if he hadn't been in the palace, he wouldn't have been in the position to save an entire nation. The very thing that looked like it was working against him was actually working for him. The same is true for you. The difficulties you're facing are not there to stop you, they are there to prepare you. Every struggle, every delay, every disappointment is part of the process. If you give up now, you'll never see the fullness of what's ahead. But if you keep pressing forward, if you refuse to let the struggles define you, you will step into a future that is bigger than anything you imagine. Sometimes we get discouraged because we think we've made too many mistakes. We think I've missed my chance. I've failed too many times. Maybe I'm not meant for anything great. But can I tell you, your mistakes don't cancel your destiny. The failures, the wrong turns, the delays, none of them are big enough to change God's plan for your life. David made mistakes, but he still became king. Moses made mistakes, but he still led the Israelites to freedom. Peter denied Jesus 3 times, but he still became one of the greatest leaders in history. Your past does not disqualify you from your future. So don't let the struggle make you lose sight of the promise. Don't let the temporary challenges convince you that your destiny is out of reach. The enemy would love for you to get discouraged, to give up, to believe that this is as good as it gets. But you have to stand your ground and declare, I may be facing struggles, but I am still moving forward. I may have obstacles, but they will not stop me. My destiny is greater than my struggles. Because here's what I know. If you stay in faith, if you keep believing, if you refuse to give up, you will see victory. The doors will open. The right people will come. The opportunities will appear. And one day you will look back and realize that everything you went through was leading you to exactly where you were meant to be. Your destiny is greater, your purpose is stronger, and your best days are still ahead of you. Keep moving forward, because what's coming is better than anything you're leaving behind. You are stronger than you think, and no challenge can keep you from your destiny unless you allow it to. Walk with confidence, knowing that greatness is already inside you. The struggles you face today are not permanent. They are shaping you, refining you, and preparing you for something greater. Stay the course and trust the process. Every resource, every gift, and every talent you need is already within you. You don't have to wait for perfect conditions. Step out in faith and use what you have. You are never alone. Even in the toughest moments, there is a power working for you, guiding you, strengthening you, and opening doors you can't yet see. No mistake, no setback, no failure is big enough to cancel the incredible future that is ahead of you. Keep pressing forward because your best days are still to come. Leave here today knowing that you are powerful, you are destined for greatness, and nothing can stop you from fulfilling your purpose unless you choose to stop yourself. Keep believing, keep pushing, and watch as everything falls into place at the right time.